Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And today's guest has a story that proves sometimes our greatest challenges lead to our biggest breakthroughs. After undergoing three uh, invasive surgeries, is that okay if I say that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
After undergoing three invasive surgeries and facing a recovery that limited her mobility, she turned her she turned to art as a way to heal. What started as a therapeutic outlet soon evolved into a world-class jewelry brand. Today, her designs have been featured on the Oscars red carpet, worn by fashion icons like Gigi Hadid, featured in major publications, and she's a self-taught artist, a champion of sustainable fashion, and the founder of her namesake brand, Meesha Farzaneh. Misha, welcome to the podcast.
Wow, what an amazing intro. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Um, yeah, why don't you just go through that background? Because I thought your story was pretty, amazing because you sort of had this setback, then you got started, then you went, and then you had another setback, and then you started again. So it'd be great to hear.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as you mentioned, I did have to undergo three invasive foot surgeries that were very, very painful. And I was basically stuck in bed. And I was struggling with depression, something that I hadn't really like experienced before, and I wasn't really sure how to navigate it. And so
Yeah.
I actually started off with textile art. I started learning how to weave in bed. And I realized after like 7 hours that I had been weaving for 7 hours and didn't even look at the time. Um, and that turned into macrame, punch needling. I was doing all sorts of different forms of textile curations. And then I had another issue that kind of came up, which was early stages of carpal tunnel in my wrist. So at that point, I had started selling my pieces and was gaining some traction. But then I wasn't able to produce the pieces like I was before because I was dealing with another form of pain in my joints. And so that's actually when I turned in my craft from textiles to polymer clay, which polymer clay is something you can buy on Amazon at any craft store, Michael's, art store carries it, and it can be cured in a conventional oven. And it's much easier to work with as far as like joints, and it has a wide variety of colors and is very malleable, so you can really do a lot with it. Um, and so I was just playing around with the concept of creating earrings because at the time I was working for a plastic surgeon as a consultant, and we had a lot of patients coming in with earlobe issues. So they wanted to wear big statement earrings, but the earrings are always so heavy that over several years, their earlobes would start to stretch. And so they would need reconstruction. And so it kind of was like, like, why does that have to go hand in hand with wearing something that you want to, express yourself and have fun with? Why does it have to come with this negative side effect? And so polymer clay, when cured, is actually incredibly lightweight. But it looks heavy and it looks big and bold and exciting, but it doesn't really weigh that much. So
Yeah.
that's when I started making earrings, and I was having a lot of fun with the designs, and I ended up making my like hero design, which is the Medusas, and that's the design that has really taken the world by storm and is honestly truly timeless. Even to this day, I have people request different colors that are asking if I'm bringing anything back in a different style in that context. So yeah, that's once I started making Medusas, it kind of took a life of its own and organically was showing up on Netflix, Bravo, you name it, like every major people would send me like screenshots, morning shows, red carpet at the Cannes Film Festival, Oscars red carpet. So it was really, honestly insane. And then Gigi Hadid wore another style that I had sent in to her stylist, not realizing that it would actually be something she would choose herself to wear. And she was photographed in it with Anna Wintour at a Vogue breakfast. It was all super surreal. And it happened in like 6 months, so it was all like happening really, really fast. And I was just trying to keep up. And I was just like creating art at home. I was never expecting it to really like take on a life of its own like it did.
Yeah.
Um, and then, funny enough, the pandemic hit, um, and everyone had to do FaceTime and screen time, and everything turned into like screens. And so a lot of people wanted to look decorated and feel done up when they were, doing these work calls. And so statement earrings became like a hot commodity and like a desired product. And so my Medusas were the perfect accessory for this. And at the time, I had just started advertising. I was totally new to the space. And the cost for advertising was a lot less at the time because they hadn't done the new iOS updates, and everything was like, it was a lot easier than it is now. And man, it just exploded. I mean, it was just me and my assistant hand making earrings, my ads team. We were fulfilling all the orders, hand making everything, doing the website, email marketing. We were doing everything. I was working like 80 hours a week. I was so exhausted. And in a full year of that, we hit close to 750,000 in revenue. So almost 750K, which is wild to even like think about. And after taxes and expenses, there was a very nice profit. So I got a little cocky. It kind of gets to your head when you're a new business owner. I'd never done anything like this before. I was like, oh, it's so easy. I got this, like, this is great. What's everyone talking about? Like, running a business is so simple. Look what I did. And I was like, I need more. I need more. I need to build, scale, scale, scale. And so I hired a team of artists to work in-house with me. I created time studies so that they knew exactly how long it took to make this part and that part, put it together so that we weren't like wasting time. We were like efficient. I was continuing to create more designs and variations. And based off of some advice I wish I wouldn't have listened to, I changed the people I was working with for advertising. And then the iOS update changed, and we had also moved into a brick and mortar location where I had a bigger studio. We were doing all the fulfillment out of there as well. And so I had, brought on all these new expenses and overhead expenses and things I didn't have before when I was running a lot more lean. And then the cost of advertising like doubled, if not more. And I put my trust and faith too much into the hands of people that weren't really monitoring my numbers accurately. And I was a little disconnected from a lot of the different, areas I should have been more hands-on with. And fast forward a couple years, let's say we did not make a profit and we were actually down like 100K, which was quite a wake-up call for me. And I was like, oh, wait, it's actually not that simple. And I need to stop the bleeding like as soon as possible. And so I made the decision to liquidate all the pieces because at that point I was also manufacturing um, in high quantities as well from some other designs and things like that. And so liquidated everything, sold as much as I could. I had to let go of my team, stop advertising, stopped all the subscriptions to like Klaviyo, like ridiculous like subscriptions that were like draining me. And I wasn't like, seeing much result from them. And so at the time, I was also leaving a 10-year relationship. And so everything was kind of like crashing down at the same time. And I was kind of stuck in a state of fight or flight. And the idea of even just like being creative was just impossible. I was paralyzed essentially. And I was like stuck in a place where I was like, do I like completely shut down the business, or like what do I do? Like I've worked so hard to create this baby of mine, and I really spent so much energy nurturing my community, which was a big part of my success. Like, even to this day, my community has been super supportive. Even after I was basically MIA for almost 2 years. Um, it wasn't until last quarter that I was able to feel stable and like ready to start things back up again. I had started working in other areas where I knew I had skill sets that I could use to like start creating like more financial security for myself. But they're not like passions of mine like the jewelry was. And now that I'm more stable, I'm looking at it in a different way instead of just like trying to pump it up and scale it and just go as big and bad as possible. I'm like, wait, but the whole point of this was the joy that came behind the jewelry and the curation and the creation design. Like, that's what I loved about this. And then it became such a small part of the puzzle when everyone's like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you know, and so I'm looking at it in a way where like I'm going to like ease back into this in a way that feels right for me. And eventually we'll be able to like minimize a lot of the small jobs that I'm doing and just like be able to like redistribute my energy more evenly. And the infrastructure is there, like the foundation is there, the community is there, the vendors are there that I've built relationships with. And so if I want to scale again, I can, but this time with much more wisdom and experience. And yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, I have a friend who, she built a huge online floral business. She saw a gap in the market with people who wanted to build their own floral arrangements, but didn't know how, so she sort of blended, floral with, like the meal prep sites. So she
Mm,
can buy 20 arrangements, have them shipped to wherever you want to. They come with instructions on how you can put it all together and make it nice. Anyway, it's a huge business. It turned into a major business. And I said to her, I said, "Was floral your passion? Was that something you were?" She said, "No." She said, "If ceramics is my passion," she said, "I love doing that. But if I had to do that for a business, then I would wind up being miserable because it would no longer be my passion because now," and another friend of mine was talking about he has a pet business that he's expanding, pet stores, and I said he said, they do, in-store grooming and things like that, and I said, "It must be difficult to get the groomers." He said, "Not really." He said, "Groomers, they just wanna groom dogs, that's what they love." He said, "They all try to go into business for themselves, and then they find out that they have to be the marketing, they have to be the accountant, they have to be the salespeople, they have to deal with customer service, they have to do all these things when all they really wanna do is groom dogs." And he
yeah.
mistake of turning it into a business, and then they're miserable, and they don't wanna do all those things. So
Yeah.
and I do know a jewelry designer producer in New York. She just has one store, and everybody's always coming to her saying, "Oh, we could sell your products here. We could do this. We could do that." She's like, "I take special orders from people. I do custom jewelry. I love what I do. I've been doing it for 20 years. I don't wanna open 2 stores, 3 stores, 4 stores. I don't." She said, "And I love my business, and I love what I do, and I love it for the art of it." So there's nothing wrong
Absolutely.
with that. Not every
Yeah.
business is set up to scale, and not every, entrepreneur. I mean, I know plenty of people that have lifestyle businesses that they're very happy doing, and they can do from anywhere around the world.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That aligns with how I feel. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I've done a bunch of businesses, but none of them were like my passion. If I were gonna do a business around my passion, I'd have to have some sort of a dog kennel with 50 dogs or something because, I don't know, my wife keeps saying that when I retire, I'm just gonna be a dog walker and walk everybody's
Uh,
dog 'cause and she said, "I won't even charge it, it'll be a nonprofit 'cause I won't even charge people, I just like to be around dogs." So,
I know, I can see myself doing the same too, honestly.
yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it's funny. Yeah, but I mean, look,
Yeah.
the fact that you learned from it, survived it, and now you're gonna go in a different direction. That's just perfectly great. So your
Yeah.
website's still up, so do you take orders?
I do. So the way I'm running things right now is small batch releases. So I am hand making still when I have the time and the inspiration, and I take my community kind of like with me through the process. So I love including them when I'm kind of like, okay, like which color do you guys like better? Do you like this longer or shorter? And I really like involve them through that creation process, and they even like they help me name the pieces. And so everyone's like very like tuned in to when I am dropping something new. And then when it is time, it's very, very limited selection of pieces each time. I send an email. So anyone that's subscribed to my email list gets the first notification. And then a day later, if there's anything left, I will announce it on my social media. So I'm not running advertising right now. And I still have some my hero product, the Medusas, in stock because I found a vendor that I trust that was able to reproduce that specific design exactly the way I would hand make it. And it's been such a loved piece that it's only fair to have that available on the website most of the time. But only in select colors at a time. So um, I am just, as of recent, started working with fine jewelry, which has always been a dream of mine to tap into. And I think imposter syndrome kind of like took that away from me for a while because I became this like queen of like costume jewelry. And part of me was like, oh, I'm not good enough to like tap into fine jewelry. Like people won't trust me to like create something of value of that, you know. But as of like this spring or late winter, early spring, I designed and released one. It's not listed on the website yet. It's made to order through DM right now, but I am going to put it on the website soon. It takes about 4 or 5 weeks because it's not something I want to like mass produce. It's new. I'm rolling it out slowly with intention and like doing it very like mindfully this time. And yeah, I would love to continue that and start offering a wider variety of fine jewelry too.
Yeah. Advertising is tough, man. If that's your only, if that's your only customer acquisition channel. We talk people out of advertising all the time because there's so many other ways. It's expensive and, it's un so you get to this point, right, where, um, when you start out something, right? You can build a community and you can do things online and you can do things on social to sorta, and you could do things with user generated content and micro influencers and in your case macro influencers, and you can, use that to your advantage to build. And then you get into this world where you start advertising and everything changes because you were acquiring customers at a very efficient rate, and now you start advertising and your cost of acquisition, like everybody focuses on return on ad spend, but the real issue isn't return on ad spend, it's the cost of acquisition versus your long-term value. And and that's the piece that people miss. It's like, so there's a shaving company out there called Harry's Razors, and every year they do this $5 box. It's got a handle, 2 cartridges, and a little thing of shave cream and they sell it for $5. I'm sure that it costs more than $5. And then I know that the shipping cost on that box is probably $6.
Yeah,
And so, they're probably in there for $15 all said and done. And everybody says, how can they do that? They're losing money. They're losing money. They're losing money. Well, they're not really losing money because you can't turn down that deal. The deal is so good that if a guy sees it, it's $5. You go,
right.
what's the risk? I get 2 cartridges. If I buy a Gillette razor, 5-blade razor, 1 cartridge is $5. So I'm getting, so you can't turn down the deal. So they have a huge amount of people buying it. So they are acquiring customers for $12 to $15 in an area where the cost of acquisition for customer is like $30 to $60. and that's true. So they're acquiring customers cheaper, but on top of that, they know that people that take advantage of that box, when they get to the website, they're buying more than just that.
Mhm.
So their average cost on that, their average, order on that is probably in the $70 range, and then they know that their long-term value is, like, over $200. So, really, that's how you have to sorta start looking at things. When
Yeah.
you look at just your advertising and your return on ad spend, it never gives you the accurate picture because return on ad spend is just too short a time period. You have to
Yeah.
look at your cost of acquisition versus your long-term value, and that's the
Yes.
only way to survive in that world.
And invest time and energy into your community and
Oh,
build
yeah.
that. That's, you know,
Yeah, no
that's a
doubt.
big
I
part
mean,
of
you
it
should
too.
always I always tell artistic entrepreneurs that you should never go it alone. You should always have somebody on your at your side who can manage the business part and just
Yeah.
let you do what you do and worry about the
Yeah.
business, and always have somebody who's like a partner because, you know,
Mhm.
you can't you can't do both. You just it's
Yeah.
almost impossible to do
It's
both.
impossible. It
Yeah, you'll
really
be
is.
miserable. You'll just be miserable. You
Yeah.
won't be happy. And if you have somebody is who enjoys doing the other parts and is not creative, you make a good team, and that's how you build it. So,
Honestly, I've had that thought many times. I think, like, moving forward, if I ever decided I wanted to, like, build, the business up again at a somewhat of a larger scale, that would be the first thing that I would look into putting into place.
you never know, you
Yeah,
might, wind up with an opportunity to go into retail, and you wind
yeah,
up putting the product in retail, and then I mean, there's a million ways to build a business slowly. You don't have to do everything fast. So so where can people find your products?
uh, MishaFarzaneh.com is my website, or they can check me out on Instagram at Meesha Farzaneh. It's just my name. It's kind of a long Persian name, but
Yeah.
it's just spelled out the way that it is on my website. And yeah, those are the main two spots that I'm
Well, if
most
it's
active
sold
on.
out, they can just keep going back and trying and finding and trying and looking and trying, or if they follow
Yeah,
you on Instagram, I guess you'll make announcements.
I always make announcements first. And when I'm looking into carrying new products, I always show previews and ask, do you guys like this? What are your thoughts on this? I'm bringing this in soon and kind of like gauge like what's the vibe? Are people into it? Are they not? And then yeah, it's part of how I've always operated. And I think that process has built the community and the loyalty that I have today. And the reason why I was able to shut things down for 2 years and come back and be welcomed with so much warmth and enthusiasm. So, yeah, I would love to invite anyone that's interested to come join the community, come join the family.
Is, Instagram your primary channel, or is TikTok
Yes.
also?
I really haven't done much on TikTok. Instagram, I feel more comfortable on Instagram. I'm on the platform more because I also do beauty and wellness on another account. And so it's easier for me to manage on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works. I mean, I know a lot of people that just focus TikTok, I think, is a little bit different in that you really have to be dedicated to TikTok and focus on building that TikTok audience and building videos in a
Yeah.
specific way, and,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah.
So,
It's a different animal for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're just about out of time, and, but I enjoyed having you. I enjoyed hearing your story. I think it's a great story. So, uh,
Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is the first podcast interview I've had in quite a while, so feels really good. Feels really good
yeah,
to be back.
good luck. Good
Thank
luck
you.
with where you're going. And again, the resilience of knowing when to step back and restart again is a good it's a good skill to have.
Thank you. Something I'm still learning and always growing, so it's never ending, students.
Everybody is.
It's raw.
Everybody is. I had that conversation. I did a speech last night at University of Maryland in entrepreneurship, and it was about scaling. And I said to somebody, they asked somebody in the audience asked the question. They said, "What's the biggest mistake that you made in business, and how much do you think it cost you?" And I said, I, um, I continue to make mistakes, but the first mistake I made was, I started this business when I was 27 and it was a disaster. And I said, I don't even want to put a number on how much it cost me, but it cost tremendous amounts of money. I said, but more than that, it cost me a lot of pride, a lot of ego, a lot of dignity. And then I said, I said, I've started 10 businesses in my life and only 4 have been successful. I said, so I look at it though against a baseball player, a great hitter only bats at 300. So I'm at 400. So I
There you
figure,
go. I love that perspective, definitely. So true. So, so true.
yeah. I mean, look, we all make mistakes and we all learn from them. And, sometimes I make the same mistake twice, which is not a good thing, but,
I
you
think
know,
once you make the big mistakes, then you've kind of gone through it, the rite of passage, so then it's not so bad, you're just like, "Oh, okay, another mistake. What's
yeah,
next? How do
that's
I
right.
pivot? How do I course correct?" Learning how to adapt and course correct will be the most valuable thing that you can, you know, live by when you are running your
Yeah,
own business.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you telling your story, and we will see everybody next time.
Yes, thank you. Bye-bye. Nice to meet you.